squad and all of my elites, what is going on? It is me, Captain Fire. Today, so we are live action. You already know what it is. Here's the thing with this review of the Bleach episode 33. This is one of the episodes of all episodes of this curve. I swear, Bleach fans, we will remember this episode forever. You already know why, and we're going to get to it. So let's just get right into it. Now, I like how the episode just starts out with the continuation of the war well being formed, and the transition, the camera angles, how it actually shows the Sun Gate, and it turns into the whole episode title. I think Gate of the Sun episode title 33. I thought that was real smooth. Even though it was CGI, it worked in this case, but not all the time. You know, CGI in anime, it can be hit or miss. If you ask me, I prefer no CGI, but if they can make it work, I mean, fine, whatever. So anyway, I do like the moment we got to see with everyone who came through the portal. You know, I do like that, you know, because that part wasn't in the manga, because you can actually see the Visors standing amongst the crew, and the Visors, they're my favorite group out of all the groups in Bleach. Of course, you all know that. And the one thing I noticed, you see them all running with, not all, but most of them running with the Naruto run. Like, what is up with that? Like, I don't know if that's just an anime staple or a shonen staple. I'm trying to think if there were animes around before Naruto that did that run. I'm pretty sure there are, but yeah, I just couldn't help but to notice that. Thought it was funny. You see Omeda, he's running out of breath. He's in front of Hachi, but you see Hachi, he's bigger than Omeda, and yet he's not even huffing and puffing. Thought it was cool. We seen Bambi, not Bambi, but Bass B, Giselle, Little Toto actually used the shadows to work their way to Bach. And from this point on, in the manga, man, it switched to a particular fight that Hashwolf had with someone. You all know what I'm talking about. And I could tell they are saving this moment to the end. Maybe the final episode, because, correct me if I'm wrong, on the credits, I think the last person they show, or one of the last people they show, is Hashwolf, and he's grabbing an arrow. Now, these openings and endings, it's a lot of spoilers, but sometimes the way they do it, they don't spoil a lot. Like when we actually seen Renji in the new intro, we was wondering what the hell is going on with Renji, and we see now it's because he fought Uryu. So for the people who never read the manga, when they see Hashwolf grabbing the arrow, they don't know if he's grabbing the arrow of one of the Star Knights. You don't know if it's the arrow from Basby, Uryu, Giselle, Little Toto. They don't know, but for the manga readers, you know, we all know what it is. Then we see the interaction between Kenpachi and Mayuri, and I kind of like this bickering just a little bit. It's not one of my favorite pairs when it comes to the bickering, but you know, it still, you know, makes me laugh a little bit. And we see Kenpachi, Ikaku, Yumachika, and Naturo, they run off in the normal way. Then we see that they swapped out a comedy part in the manga in exchange for this very good animation of Orihime and Ichigo running next to each other talking. And I'm pretty sure a lot of you motivators watching, don't lie, you didn't just notice the good animation. You probably noticed a good particular part on Orihime that had some good animation. I know you've seen it. I know you've seen it. So we went into, of course, asking Lavar and Grimjow chasing them. I love how they did this, man. To me, they delivered. You know, it wasn't too much that they warped or changed, because this was one of the key things I was really paying attention to see if they changed something, and they really did it. Now, with the Miracle showing up to the edge of the destination, calling out the Soul Reapers to come find him, in the manga, this doesn't happen till way later. And also, in the manga, I believe, he's cursing, you know, the rest of the Four Horsemen, you know, for sending him there where there was nobody to be found. Then we come back to more Grimjow chasing, asking Lavar, which I think is cool. And I thought it was funny, man, the way he bent that corner, pointing those two fingers like that, man, they did that smooth. But of course, man, one thing I never liked, man, even in the manga, I'm like, damn, Grimjow got dropped that fast. I get it was poison. Grimjow. Me personally, I wouldn't have slashed that. I would have went around it, but whatever. I think he would eventually caught up to Grimjow. Grimjow would eventually caught up to him and took him out. I mean, that's just, you know, my opinion. And then we cut to Star Knight X getting his Call of Duty sniping on. I swear, I don't like snipers, man. I swear, I get it. That's how they're supposed to be. They're supposed to sit there and camp, you know, and they just snipe. But it was pretty cool seeing him do it. Now, in the manga, I believe he only sniped Hisaki. But in the anime, he sniped Hisaki, and then Omeda went running after Hisaki. Then he got sniped. And then I believe 2 more members of Squad 13 got sniped, and Isane got sniped. I mean, it just caused everyone to run and scatter, which was a good strategy, which is something you see in real life. So I thought that was pretty cool. Now let's talk about the best part of the entire episode. Yes, the Uryu versus Renji fight. I never thought we would see a rematch round 2 between these two. Now me personally, I like Renji more than Uryu. My brother, he's an Uryu fan. He's a Quincy fan. So, you know, my brother, he was like, hey, Uryu got this one. I'm like, nah. To me, Renji got it, but I knew realistically they were going to have Uryu win this fight, you know, due to so many reasons, but we're going to talk about that later in this review. But this fight was a 10 out of 10. There was a few moments where there were some cutaways, but we're not even going to talk about that. But the momentum, the speed, the pacing of the fight was very good. Things made sense. I wasn't confused. It wasn't drawn out. It wasn't just standing there. They didn't just stand there and just charge up. It wasn't this over exaggerated extensive dialogue. Everything was smooth. So I liked the angles, the camera how it started out. And see, this is when the CGI it actually works, because Renji was running towards Uryu and he bounced left, right between the buildings, going to strike Uryu. And of course, he shoots him with the arrow, but he dodges, it scrapes his face, and he lands down. They exchange a little bit of dialogue, but when he goes to rush Uryu, Uryu fires a couple arrows. You could actually see Renji using the flash step. And one thing I thought was cool, which is just one of the many things we see in this fight, all these new techniques and surprises. You see Uryu on top of his bow, like the top part, he summoned this melee racy spiked, you know, double-edged part of his bow so he can actually clash and deflect with Renji. I thought that was real sweet. Then my boy Renji wastes no time and activates Bunkai, Soul Zabimaru, and he does Zazika, and you can see close to fist, the blade actually turns into a Shikai-esque form of Zabimaru, you know, with the chain whip. And I noticed when it went to Uryu, I'm not sure, maybe this is part of the ability or the technique, when it made contact with Uryu, or Uryu's bow, and he was blocking it, it made an explosion. So I don't know if it has like an explosive tip upon contact, or maybe Uryu, he shot an arrow real fast, but I don't think that's the case. I think it has an explosive tip because we started to see, you know, so many different types of explosions and fires all throughout this fight that Renji was doing. Then Renji follows up with Orochiro and he whips Uryu through a piece of a building, and when he falls down, he goes to shoot an arrow at Renji, and I was not expecting this. The way Renji kicked that arrow upwards with the backflip, I'm like, Renji doing that? I'm telling you right now, we all know how fast these Bleach characters really are. Alright, there are so many videos about the actual speed of the Bleach characters. These other guys who also do Bleach content, they're really good on breaking stuff down when it comes to that. You can look in the information data books, etc. And those arrows right there, the pure light, the spirit particle arrows right there for Renji, that type of reaction speed. I mean, if you go back and watch that fight, of course he has a surprise look at first, and then he just reacts real good. That royal guard training paid off, because in my opinion, I was not expecting Renji to react that fast, because Renji isn't necessarily known for his speed, but of course he had that royal guard training and his speed increased. So the way he was able to just kick that arrow up like that, man, even if you don't like Renji or you're making fun of Renji for losing this fight, you gotta give him props for doing something like that. So he rushes Uryu, and of course he grabs the tail end of the snake part of Zabimaru, and he goes to extend it because the head part comes off of Renji's hand. And I don't know if I'm tripping. I'm pretty sure I have this wrong. Feel free to correct me down below. But it looks like the shoulder pads come off, because you know the snake part, it doesn't have a bottom jaw originally, you know, in this new Soul Zabimaru form. And it looks like the shoulder pads come off, and I don't know if they went under the top part of the jaw to make a bottom part jaw. I don't know if I'm looking at that correctly. I don't know, because if not, where did the two bottom jaw pieces come from? You know, but anyway, Uryu goes to shoot an arrow, and we see the bladed part, it heats up, and it just disintegrates the whole arrow. Almost takes Uryu out, hits the building behind him. It just melts a hole in the building, and you see this just explosion, multiple explosions just from that. I honestly think if Uryu would have got hit by that, if he wouldn't have been dead, he would have been critically wounded. And just from that wound alone, the battle would have been over. And I like how they paid attention to the details and added the nice touches. You know, we see Uryu use the Haranyaku to get some air, and of course he used the signature move. Y'all want to get on Ichigo, spam and get to potential. Uryu love using the Listeregen, and he just goes raining down on Renji, but he blocks it with the bamboo arm. Soul Zabimaru. And just from him swinging his arm, getting the arrows off. That force alone just made Uryu just spin all out of control. Then he uses the bone snake puddle Soul Zabimaru. You know, he whips it in the air. He grabs a chunk of the debris that was already in the air, smashing the Uryu, whips him around, pumps him into the building. And that's when, man, you see he took that fist and he just right there knocked Uryu through 4 or 5 buildings, man. And at that point, bam, right there, go to stab him right in the stomach. And he does the Zagatepo right on Uryu. And of course, that's the same thing he did with Masculine. And they killed him instantly. So this time, of course, he was on the ground. And when he jumped down on Uryu, it made just a big, massive explosion. Uryu survived it, of course, using Blood Vein. And of course, when he activates his full standing, you know, in front of Holy Form, man, and you hear those bells again. And look who's watching them again, Hashwolf. This is the second time Uryu has went in that form, and Hashwolf, he's just always watching him. I wonder if he's going to do it again, and he's just going to be watching. But I doubt it. I think this is the last time Uryu will go into that form. Maybe he'd do it on Hashwolf when they fight. You know that he didn't do it in the manga, so maybe he'll do it in the anime. And I noticed that Uryu, he didn't have the plates on his arms and legs like when he fought Ichigo. That I noticed. But he activated those funnels, and they all formed together to make one big, massive ass arrow, and he fired it right at Renji, and he went to collide with it, and it pushed Renji's Zapato out the way, and you just see it fly way off of the city ledge. I think that arrow right there, of course you've seen it go through the building, make a big hole. I think that right there, that probably would have took Renji out as well. If not, it would have critically wounded him. Then we see Uryu, he's sending the swarms of those funnels at Renji, and of course he goes to block it, and he does this, you know, like that. He does that, you know, with the arm, and we see all the fur come off. And I'm thinking, like, what is the point of this? Uryu goes ahead, stepping on the fur, not paying attention or not knowing what it's going to do, obviously. And that's when Renji activates Haiten Seal. I think that's what it's called. And those patches of fur, other arms come out of those patches of fur, or the patches of fur turn into the other bamboo arms, and they trap Uryu. And I think Renji said he only has 20 seconds. We actually got a flashback of more of Renji's training, which I love, when he actually was able to do that technique, and that's when Ichibe, he was explaining it to him. Then Renji uses Zaka Ziko. Of course, it looks like he turns Soul Zabimaru into the old school. He heals Zabimaru because it looks like the old school, you know, and he takes it, you know, with his bamboo arm, and he's just spinning it and spinning it and spinning it. And I'm so glad Renji has all these other techniques and moves, especially this one, because I always liked his original Bunkai. I always did that snake dragon tail with the red mane. I always liked that. I mean, I don't get me wrong, I like this new one, I do, but I'm glad they, you know, Kubo, he kept the form of the old half, you know, he healed Zabimaru, you know, with this new one, Soul Zabimaru. But as he was swinging it, you see it was just making flames and flames and flames. It was just a big swirling ball of fire, and he came right down on Uryu with that, made a massive explosion. That right there I thought was crazy. But the crazy thing was the fact that Uryu wasn't using Blood Vein at all. Motivator was just laid out. So I'm like, he actually tanked that. I don't know if it's because the arms acted as a shield per se, but I don't know. But I'm like, damn, I guess, hey, Uryu, he got that that plot armor defense. Then Uryu starts to break down everything around him and absorb him, as what Quincy's do, you know, rocks go and breaking down, and then the buildings start breaking down, he absorbs it. Then he does Holy Slave and Feathered Swinger, and that's when those funnels, you know, they form together to these pillars. They surround Renji. Renji tries to escape. He didn't just stand there. Even though, in my opinion, I think he could have got out the way, but whatever. So they surround him. He jumps up. They stab him from the angle. It kind of looks like a Ruko Kojuro. It reminds me of that. And it just starts zapping Renji, and we see it drains him of his spirit energy and his power, everything. It just bursts and fades away. Renji drops to his knees. He tries to activate the Bunkai again. You see the bone arm coming out of him. He's struggling, and that's when Uryu, he puts the crosshair right on Renji's chest. Renji goes to shoot, I forget the name of the technique, but he shoots a blast, energy blast, and Uryu shoots that arrow right through Renji. Now it's the end of Renji right there. And yeah, that was in episode basically ends right there. I give this episode a 10 out of 10. Now that we got the episode review out of the way, let me discuss something real quick before I close this out. I'm Team Renji, alright? Uryu is sweet. You know, he's cool. But I am Team Renji. To me, Renji has put in more work and grind and effort in all of his training throughout the whole series more than Uryu. Yes, we've seen at stage Uryu have become stronger. We've seen his bow changed, you know, all throughout the series. This time, you know, of course, he drank the blood of Bach. That was like one of the biggest, cheat codes or upgrades you can get, you know. And yes, while Renji did go through the Royal Guard training, it was due to him getting his ass kicked by a Master Masculine. And the reason why Renji lost, because so many people like to say, oh, he's the Vegeta of Bleach, always losing. He's like the Krillin of Bleach, always losing, whatever. Now, someone say Chad is like the Yamcha or the Krillin of Bleach, but whatever. Here's the thing. He had to lose. Plot carried Uryu. I'm here to say it right now, yes, because I've been seeing so many debates and discussions about this. Matter of fact, one motivator, he actually recently went to debate me about it, saying that's what Renji get. All that training for nothing. He sucks. That's what he gets from running off on his own. Like, Ninja, did you not see Star Knight X sniping mother suckers and they were scattering? And he goes on to say, well, that still doesn't mean he should have went off on his own. He should have paired up. That'd have been more easy pickings for Star Knight X. Actually, Star Knight X, he spoke on this. He was saying how they were naturally splitting apart anyway. Due to the racial density, they were wounded, fatigued, etc. You know, it just happened naturally. So either way, they would just split apart. And again, I'm gonna keep saying it. I knew Renji was gonna lose because I already knew what had to happen in the story. That's the only reason Renji lost. So for, again, all you ninjas saying, Renji pathetic, he's still weak. No. Renji, and not to mention, Uryu said, you were subconsciously trying not to kill me. Right there. Which is crazy because it seemed like those attacks he was doing, man, it looked like those were kill blows. Stabbing the motivator, explosions. That the technique that went through the building, if that, like I said, that would have hit Uryu. Yeah, I mean, Uryu would have been done, or he would have been critically injured. But Renji, he came a long way. He has more experience than Uryu. He's trained more than Uryu. He trained harder than Uryu. He's a more aggressive fighter. And like I said, these are two different fighting styles. You know, Renji, he's been from Squad 5, Squad 11, Squad 6. Ikaku didn't trained him. He didn't spar a couple times with Byakuya. He actually fought Byakuya at that. He took on Arankars, you know, did his training in Royal Guard. While Renji does get dropped a lot, hey, the motivator got heart, man, and he keeps on going, does not quit. And the fact that now he's been past the captain level. He's a good candidate to be a captain, so you can actually say he's like the strongest lieutenant out of all of the lieutenants. At the end of the whole series, I actually thought he was gonna take a spot that was vacant in one of the captain slots, but he's still under Byakuya in Squad 6, and that's fine. That's cool because yes, my favorite squad, favorite captain, favorite lieutenant. But Uryu, if he didn't use that technique, man, that to drain Renji, like, he would have had this one. Renji would have had this one. So you can see Uryu never had brute force, strong, destructive attacks. Everything was just calm, cool, calculated, and precise type of attacks. Does funnels forming into one arrow, shooting it at Renji, just doing a lot of arrow shooting moves, List Reagan, everything. He was gonna need more than that. Renji had more of the stopping power, more of the full force. I know some of you are thinking, well, in the end, it didn't even matter. But when those pillars started coming down surrounding Renji, I'm like, man, you could have got away with that. You were flash stepping, dodging them arrows. You was dodging everything else. You couldn't dodge that, but I get it. That's just how the story had to go. So again, I'm saying it right here, right now. Team Renji, he only lost because of what's gonna happen in the story. If he would have killed Uryu, do you know how this story would have went? Game over. That's how. So, hey, if anything, I'm worried. I'm not worried. I'm wondering how Renji is gonna recover from this. Who's gonna heal Renji? Because he's gonna have to be in the fight versus the Miracle. So, yeah, but we'll see how that plays out. I know the fights. We got 3 more fights left, I think. You know, Mayuri versus Pranitas and Shunpei versus Star Knight X, and then Basby and Hashwall. And then that's probably the end of this curve, and then we'll go on to the final curve. But also, I'm really excited because there are a couple things I really can't wait to see in that final arc. But final season of this final arc. But other than that, Elites, give me your thoughts, comments, and concerns. Who team were you on, Renji or Uryu? Hey, like I said, matter of fact, let's take it all the way back. When Ichigo fought Uryu, Ichigo won that one. It was game over when he was like that. Then, of course, the whole thing with Grimmjow and Nail. Nah, Grimmjow will take this one. Then we got Renji and Uryu. Hey, Renji only lost because of the story. But give me your thoughts, comments, and concerns. Thank you so much for watching. It's me, Captain Roger Dace, signing out.